Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Lakeisha Robertson, Chief of Staff at the Gulf of Mexico Division. During tonight's session, we will refer to the Gulf of Mexico Division as GMD. I am going to serve as your facilitator for the public input portion of this session. Just let everyone know this session is being recorded and will be available on our website. I am going to turn my camera off to preserve bandwidth. Give me 1 second. The purpose of this session is to learn about the bipartisan infrastructure law and the funding received by GMD, but more importantly, for GMD to hear from you all about project ideas that would directly benefit underserved communities under a future request for applications. At this time, I am going to turn it over to Diane Reese, physical scientist at GMD, for the presentation. Diane?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Diane Reese with Gulf of Mexico Division. I'm also going to turn my camera off just to make sure that the quality of the presentation is better for everyone. Um, GMD is a great water body program that was established in 1988. We develop, identify novel approaches that are critical to long-term restoration and preservation of the Gulf of Mexico, its watershed and communities. GMD responds to emerging environmental and public health concerns, as well as continues to work with existing efforts with proven impact on the Gulf conservation and resilience. So, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, WIJA, commonly referred to as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Bill, invests over 1 trillion in transportation, broadband internet, climate, energy, environmental resiliency, and more. Of the 1 trillion, over 60 billion was provided to the Environmental Protection Agency for clean water infrastructure. Of the 60 billion, over 53 was allocated to the Gulf of Mexico Division over 5 years to develop funding opportunities under Clean Water Act 104b3 statutory authority, which authorizes the award of assistance agreements to conduct and promote the coordination and acceleration of research, investigations, experiments, training, demonstrations, surveys, and studies relating to the causes, effects, extent, prevention, reduction, and elimination of pollution. Since its inception in 1988, the Gulf of Mexico Division, with cooperation of its partners, successfully implements and funds projects that lead to a thriving ecosystem. The projects center on our 4 measures: habitat restoration, environmental education and outreach, community resilience, and water quality. This slide shows projects whose main goal is habitat restoration. Remember, habitat restoration focuses on improving or restoring water quality and habitat throughout the 5 Gulf states and the entire Mississippi River watershed. On the left, Nature Conservancy led this project, which supports the development and demonstration of a forest management program, which directly benefits water quality and quantity, in addition to downstream basin wetlands, swamps, and Apalachicola Bay habitats. Prescribed fire training is also provided to local municipalities, land management partners, and regional volunteer fire departments. On the right, the Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana works to restore and enhance coastal swamp forest habitat near the city of New Orleans and provides volunteer opportunities that are accessible and accommodating to urban communities. This project investigates tree survival rates post-planting and demonstrates the viability of planting native bottomland hardwood forest trees in coastal swamp forest habitat. Our next slide is about environmental education and outreach. This metric focuses on promoting and supporting environmental education and outreach. On the left, we have a project by Mississippi State University that refines and expands the Planet Marsh educational program and develops a complementary dune plant component called Planet Dunes to enhance community resilience using education and outreach combined with habitat restoration practices in the Gulf of Mexico watershed. Utilizing citizen science, Mobile Baykeeper's Strategic Watershed Awareness and Monitoring Program, or SWAMP, which is shown on the right, educates and trains students to monitor specific waterways so that they are equipped to solve water quality issues in their local watershed by filling in critical data gaps. All of GMD's efforts are cornerstones to environmental stewardship. GMD's goal is to heighten citizens' appreciation of the Gulf, which leads to positive behavioral practices. This is accomplished by developing hands on environmental initiatives and engaging citizens in restoration programs and projects. Next up is community resilience. This metric focuses on supporting the development and implementation of coastal improvement programs, tools to enhance community planning, risk assessment, green infrastructure, and smart growth implementation. Mississippi State's University Coastal Research and Extension Center has a project shown on the left where they work with restaurants, local universities, community groups, and residents to improve water quality and habitat by eliminating single use plastic and reducing waste using a diverse, inclusive, creative, and multi scale approach. This project is focused on eliminating the use of plastic before it becomes a waste. On the right, we have sustaining our urban landscape, which is working to reduce non-point source pollution and enhance community resilience using green infrastructure practices in the Gulf of Mexico watershed. To date, over 850 large native water-loving trees such as bald cypress and live oak have been planted in the historic neighborhood of Pontchartrain Park in New Orleans, with another 650 plantings planned. Monitoring of the impact to stormwater will also be performed. Our last slide about metrics is for water quality. This metric focuses on protecting, enhancing, and restoring coastal and upland habitats and watersheds. On the left, Northwest Florida Water Management District is improving water quality in the Gulf of Mexico through um, through the form of algae removal from retention ponds to reduce dependency on commercial fertilizers. This project demonstrates how nutrients that are discharged within a nursery farming operation can be captured and reused on site, resulting in an algae biomass that can be used as fertilizer and clarified water that can be used for irrigation. On the right, Louisiana State University is working to identify sources of microbial pollution to discern where intervention is needed in a tributary of the Gulf of Mexico, and to test a novel solution on insufficiently treated wastewater utilizing devices that combine ultraviolet light emitting diodes with chlorine. GMD continuously, GMD continuously works with the Gulf Coast states to maximize efficiency and utility of water quality monitoring efforts for local managers or supports efforts to improve water quality and habitat quality to meet water quality standards throughout the 5 Gulf states and Mississippi River Basin. Again, this slide is to remind everyone of our authority. The Gulf of Mexico Division is a non-regulatory geographic program under EPA, and our work is centered around preserving and protecting the Gulf. The way that we do this is primarily through funding assistance agreements based on our statutory authority in Section 104(b)(3) of the Clean Water Act, which is shown here on the slide. The important aspects of our authority are that project activities must be related to research, investigations, trainings, demonstrations, surveys, and studies relating to the causes, effects, extent, prevention, reduction, and elimination of water pollution, as mentioned earlier in the presentation. Our funding authority is also influenced by current administrative priorities, the EPA strategic plan, and Gulf of Mexico Division's 4 priority measures that we just covered. Based on our funding authority, we would like to provide some examples of the type of project activities that we can and cannot fund. Please keep the following details in mind as you prepare to provide project ideas during the live comment period. The following projects are generally not permitted. These include actions to settle a formal enforcement action or court order, or required mitigation measure under a state, local, or federal permit. Grant funding may be used to enhance or expand such projects beyond minimum requirements for compliance. Other projects that are not permitted are work involving only routine maintenance of stormwater infrastructure and facilities. Projects which fall under existing planning responsibilities of a state or local government, such as TMDL, total maximum daily loads, or MS4 permits. I'm going to stress the next two because it's a little bit confusing with bill funding coming to EPA for clean water infrastructure. Um, Routine or great infrastructure projects, such as the installation of sewer lines, water treatment plants, septic to sewer, these are ineligible projects under our statutory authority. Construction projects using concrete and steel are also ineligible. We do want to provide you with projects that we have funded in the past. Green infrastructure implementation like living shorelines and pollinator gardens, the development of community resilience planning tools and or indexes. Of course, educational programming, programs, trainings, workshops, and curriculum. We also do restoration of dune, marsh, coastal forest habitats, and of course, innovative water quality improvement or monitoring techniques, such as microbial source tracking or purchasing guides for plastic alternatives. There are numerous examples of projects we funded, from prescribed burns and invasive species removal to workforce development, and programs educating students on environmental issues through radio broadcasting, all of which can be found on Gulf of Mexico's story map found on our website. Please keep in mind that all projects must meet Clean Water Act 104(b)(3) as noted here. Before moving on to our comment period, we want to acknowledge that there may be some larger scale projects that will have components that we cannot fund based on our authority. However, if you can show that funding from an alternate source that will cover the activities that GMD cannot fund, we may be able to fund a portion of the project if those activities fall in line with 104(b)(3) of the Clean Water Act. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Keisha, our facilitator.
Thank you, Diane. The development of this new RFA, funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, will build upon our four measures. While project activities must focus on underserved communities, we plan to award up to $25 million across the 5 Gulf states, with approximately $5 million in each state. So, how can you leverage the Gulf of Mexico Division's 4 focus areas? And those areas are habitat restoration, environmental education and outreach, community resilience, and water quality to address the needs of underserved communities. We want to hear from you all. You are the best source of information to inform the development of the request for applications. I do have a project idea as an example, just to get the thought processes going. You live in a community where flooding is a huge concern. Rapid development has increased storm runoff. Trash accumulation in local bayous has created choking points that increase the flooding risk. These issues affect the community's resilience due to the increased flooding risk, and the trash-filled bayous are causing water quality concerns. A project example could include water quality workshops, along with education on flood risk. A trash collection device could be installed, which would prevent overflow of trash downstream And a bioswale or any other type of green infrastructure could be demonstrated to mitigate flooding. Before we start the comment portion of this webinar, here are some instructions. If you wish to make a comment, please use the raise your hand feature or dial *5 on your phone. Once your name has been called, please unmute your line and limit your response to 3 minutes or less. And you will see the timer. It will let you know how much time is remaining, and we will be sure to communicate this for those that are on the phone. Please remember to unselect the raise hand button and mute your microphone when you have finished your response. If you have questions, please use the chat box, or you may email us questions after the session. Questions submitted via the chat box would not be addressed live by me. However, those questions submitted via the chat box will be answered in the same manner. We plan to have our last comment around 3:45. However, if we have any extra time and you'd like to speak again, you are more than welcome to raise your hand. We want to remind everyone again that the session is being recorded and will be available on our website. Just some gentle ask of you as you make your input. When speaking, please introduce yourself and give us a brief description of your project ideas and how the Gulf of Mexico Division's funding can help implement them. While we understand that environmental issues affecting communities serve as the basis for project ideas, we're excited to hear more about the activities that would be of great benefit to your community. So at this time, I will open the session up for input. All right, Mark, you may unmute yourself.
Thanks. This is Mark Elliott. I'm at University of Alabama. I've been working a lot on wastewater issues in Alabama, mostly in rural areas. There's a lot of federal money coming into infrastructure, obviously with BIL being part of that.
Mark, your volume is a little low. If you wouldn't mind speaking louder,
okay,
just to make sure we capture what
okay,
you're saying.
Yeah, we'll try. So
Thank you.
Mark Elliott, University of Alabama. So I'm working on a lot of wastewater issues in rural Alabama with many partners, and this is mostly in rural areas that are underserved. So a lot of federal money is going to wastewater systems, both on-site systems and community systems, even connecting parts of cities to sewer who haven't previously been connected. And all of that is it's in a Gulf state, and all of the flow is going to the Gulf, from these systems. Would the Gulf of Mexico Division potentially be interested in funding an evaluation of the impact of these programs, of all these construction projects on water quality? I mean, maybe all of them would be overambitious, but some subset of those.
Mark, thank you for your input in that question. We're not addressing questions live, but we will take that ask back and take it to our management team as a project activity.
Great, thanks.
You're very welcome. Do we have others that would like to provide input? All right, Shannon, you may unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Shannon Gowans from Eckerd College, and I currently have an EPA Trash-Free Waters grant to develop an app that is helping people reduce their single-use plastic. but also creating in the background a database that stores information, geo-referenced database that has information about where and when people are able to use single-use plastic and where they're able to refuse it. Our current grant is focused just on St. Petersburg, Florida, and we're just about ready to release the app, and Phil will get you that as soon as it's going there. But we were looking to find funding to allow us to expand the coverage further beyond just St. Petersburg. So whether that's all of Florida or looking at targeting greater amongst the Gulf states, that's the kind of thing that we're looking for, finding additional funding. And then also what we want to create is this database. What we could build out in our current funding is only accessible to Amy Suida at Eckert, who's the other co-PI, and myself. What we want to do is build a public-facing database that anybody could then go get this data. And the kinds of sort of questions we've sort of thought about or been asked, people in the community have asked us about are things like, can I compare this city that has a ban on using straws and plastic in restaurants to a neighboring city and see how straw use differs between those, so that I can then go to the local government and say, hey, look at how much better we could be doing, or ideas like that would be in the database. So that's what we're looking, is how do we expand this program further?
Thank you, Shannon. We appreciate your input. Do we have others that would like to provide input? Right. Kathy, you may unmute yourself.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Kathy Tatum with here in Houston, Texas. My nonprofit is called Collaborating Voices Foundation, and I guess we're a little different. We well, underneath my umbrella, we have over 65 nonprofits, and then over throughout Texas, 300 that's in our group, and we've been helping with the EPA and air qualities. But my project is we've been building, which will be open in 3 weeks, a actual clinic. And we're asking people to come in because community resilience and environmental education, cancer, as you know, as the environment is rampant, but in our clinic, we're pre-testing, we have mobile units, CT scans, we have doctors that are treating cancer, but also colonoscopies, prostate cancer. And we also have one nonprofit that's, planting the trees. Other ones are dropping off food. Why is this important? Because of mental health and the effects. And a lot of times people don't have a place to go in our community. And when I'm telling even Congress and all these other people, our clinic is not just doctors. We have free prescriptions, psychological prescriptions. We have prostate cancer prescriptions. We would like to be funded because at the end of the day, when we're going into people and they're like, well, I'm battling cancer cluster, or my backyard, we have a bunch of people that have gotten together that not only are going into our community feeding and planting trees and patios, but we also have a place for them to get checked at low cost or free. So that's what we're doing. And like I said, our nonprofit is Collaborating Voices Foundation. I don't know anybody else in the hood has an open MRI, has a mobile unit that has 3D mammograms, 4D mammograms, and we're minorities. And everybody's getting funded for helping the underserved minority community, but it's usually the minorities are the volunteers and not the funded people. So that's why I'm fighting for funding, and I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kathy. We really appreciate your input. Do we have others that would like to provide input at this time? As we mentioned, our 4 focus areas are habitat restoration, water quality improvements, environmental education and outreach, and community resilience. Are there specific needs in your area that you would want to present as a potential project idea or project activity that we could include in this future request for applications? We really need your input. This request for applications will be informed by way of what we hear from you all tonight in our future sessions. So please know your input tonight is vitally important as we work to develop this future request for applications. And when you think about habitat restoration, it could include a simple project such as tree plantings, riparian buffers, or dune marsh restoration. Those sort of things that can benefit underserved communities. We really want to hear from you all today. So we welcome your input. Please don't be shy. If you would like to provide your input via the chat box, that's perfectly fine.
And this is Dr. Kathy. Can I add something that was in our last meet? We put a lot of community gardens all around the city. And what my feedback from people saying, well, a lot of people don't show up for the community garden, even though we changed the environment, is because they fail to have funding for the solar screens. And here in Houston, I know it's hot. So you put all these gardens and you put all these everything, but there is no shade. There's no gazebos. There's nothing for the volunteers to get under and have relief. So it's very important for that to be included because we have a lot. I have 8 so far. And the number one complaint is even the volunteers or the seniors can't even come out and enjoy the change of the environment that we did because there's no shading. So I hope that can be added.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate it. Are there others that would like to offer input? As I mentioned just a second ago, we desperately need your input tonight. We want to make sure that this request for applications is truly reflective of the needs in your communities or what you've been hearing from stakeholders in your communities. We want this RFA, as well as any RFA, to be very intentional and meet the needs of underserved communities. So we want to hear from you all. We're learning tonight. And so we want to capture the input you provide. And as I stated, if you would prefer to type your input into the chat, you may do so, or you may speak verbally. One of the unique things about the Gulf of Mexico division is that if you're working and focusing on one of our priority areas, those that I mentioned, environmental education, outreach, water quality, community resilience, or habitat restoration, it typically touches other priority areas. One example would be for water quality. So water quality improvements can also be realized when habitat restoration and community resilience projects are demonstrated. Are there any creative projects that would enhance and or improve water quality in your community? So that's something to think about as well. So you don't have to feel like you're isolated to in just one priority area or have to question, well, if I focus on too many, is that convoluted or will that confuse the Gulf of Mexico division? No, we welcome those sorts of projects. We love to see a robust approach to improving conditions in communities. James, please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
If you could speak a tad bit louder, that would be great.
Uh, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, sure. So I was going to put this into the chat. I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not. I'm part of a nonprofit here in Corpus Christi, Texas, along the Gulf Coast. And we formed, I guess, about 7 or 8 years ago to purchase properties of homeowners who are living right next to Refinery Row. We have 6 refineries here in Corpus Christi, and there's one neighborhood in particular right next to all of them. And we're trying to buy people out of the area. Well, we succeeded in being able to purchase 16 homes, found replacement properties for the residents who are living there. But now we find ourselves as homeowners, and we'd like to try to unload the properties. We're not sure exactly how to go about doing that. We don't want them, obviously, homes to be built up there anymore. We've raised the homes ourselves that were there, so they're all just vacant lots now. But they're not contiguous either. They're scattered throughout the neighborhood. There's still another maybe 200 houses in the area. Ideally, we'd like to find funding, to be able to buy out the other 200 homes as well, but we've fallen way short of that. But we'd also like to try to, as I said, to get rid of these properties as well. Currently, the only body interested in it right now is the local Port of Corpus Christi, and we've been kind of suspicious of them because they're very industrialized, and we're worried that they would further endanger the residents of the local neighborhood, the air quality and water quality of people living in that neighborhood.
Thank you for your input. We really appreciate it. Are there others that would like to provide input? Hi, Patrick. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, this is Patrick Barnes. I own an environmental engineering practice that works throughout the Gulf, as well as I started a workforce development job training program that also works pretty much throughout the Gulf. It's based in New Orleans, though. But the question I have is, in the quest for applications, can EPA change the scoring criteria for the applications to be more focused on true and meaningful engagement of the local community resources on the project versus having institutions from elsewhere come in, or national based institutions come in to do work and so on, to elevate not just the local nonprofits, but also local businesses in general and existing programs, existing CBOs that are based in the communities.
Patrick, we will take your question back to our management team for consideration. We really appreciate that question. Very good question. Do you have any thoughts, Patrick, before I let you go, on any project ideas or activities that would be of benefit to the communities you work in? You may speak to that
Yeah.
as well if you do.
Oh, well, yes, I do. I mean, what happens, well, there's one community that I'm actually working with right now that's in the Florida Panhandle, and they have various grants from EPA. Thank you for that. Job training grant and assessment grant for brownfields. But there are some gaps in the work that they need before those grants can really be effectively utilized. So there appears to be some potential need, no potential. There's need for additional data gathering in the background, community-wide data gathering, and so on. So what happens a lot of times, and I don't know if this RFA will take into consideration the connection that often is not there to go from one funding mandate to another funding mandate that EPA has. Oftentimes you guys have these pots of money, but it's very specific in how it needs to be utilized. But communities a lot of times need that additional data. It could be land surveying, it could be geotechnical engineering, it could be all these other things that before you fully do the environmental work, you need to have that background data, and that just seems to be that they're something that EPA does not necessarily look at, but it could be, and many others don't either. So this is something hopefully the EPA can look at in the future.
Thank you, Patrick. Are there others that would like to provide input? We do have the chat box open if you would like to enter your input there. We want to make sure we capture all of your thoughts. So please don't hold back. If there's something you're thinking about, but you're wondering if you should say it, please say it. We want to hear from you. We want this request for applications to truly reflect the needs of communities and the stakeholders that you engage with. So please share your thoughts with us tonight. We're going to be working on this request for applications in the next few months. So it'd be great to get your input. We want to make sure it's truly reflective of the needs and concerns of communities along the Gulf Coast of the Gulf region. So please share your input with us. Mark, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, so if it's okay if I ask another question, I have two other ideas. One is, you know, PFAS, forever chemicals, so-called forever chemicals, are becoming a big priority, especially in the BIL. And I was curious whether the Gulf program might be interested in an investigation of municipal landfills in sandy coastal areas and whether PFAS chemicals are getting into the groundwater and potentially into the Gulf. That's one thing. Another thing that we've come upon as we try to address wastewater issues in rural Alabama, and not just, you know, my team, but our larger wastewater consortium members, is that homes that are on so-called air property or property without clear title, it's really challenging often to help these people in rural areas if they don't have clear title to their land. So it, I think, has implications for a lot of different issues, but trying to determine where the status of the title of people's land and what kind of help they might be eligible for if they did have clear title, I think might be an idea that's a little bit outside the box, but I know for us it's been a big issue with on-site wastewater projects.
Thank you, Mark. We'll take your question and the project idea back for consideration. Thank you. Are there others that would like to provide input? And I know some of you have taken us up on this offer, but if you've provided input and you have additional feedback, please feel free to raise your hand. All right, Shannon, you may unmute yourself.
Hi, what I wanted to add is our approach at trying to reduce pollution right from the starting point by reducing that consumption is then plastic never becomes that pollution. So it has a lot of environmental education and outreach, builds in that community resilience, and then in the long run leads to improvement in water quality. And the work that we've been doing in St. Petersburg really highlights how there are real interconnections with the communities, and particularly those traditionally marginalized communities, where that's often where the water infrastructure, stormwater drain infrastructure isn't nearly as good, leading, of course, in the Gulf states to that issue of stormwater flooding, et cetera. The other piece that we've been really working along is how can, if people change their approaches to single-use plastic, it can actually lift communities up by making the communities a more resilient place, dealing with that plastic pollution, but it also can have a real impact on the small scale at local businesses if they're no longer spending the money. So for a small local restaurant, if they're no longer having to purchase those single-use plastic straws to give out because people are saying no to straws, or are able to bring their own containers, so for takeout, so that the business isn't using that money, or reducing plastic bags, it provides a lot of incremental improvements to the community as a whole, going beyond just that idea of reducing those plastics.
Thank you, Shannon. Are there others that would like to provide input? Are there success stories in your area related to habitat restoration, water quality improvement, and community resilience that you know about and would like to share what activities were successfully completed and how? Work that could be continue to build on or possibly train others through environmental education and outreach. Do you have something similar to that, or any type of success story that aligns with our four priority areas that you want to talk about tonight? It may be one that we can fold into our request for applications, or it could generate some additional thoughts that others may have. So as I stated earlier, we want to hear from you all. Don't feel like you can't or communicate what you're thinking, that it may not fit what we're looking for. We're open to hear what you have to say. And we still have the chat box open if you would prefer to enter your comments that way. Are there others? We don't want to end this call without getting everyone's input, so please share your thoughts with us. This request for applications will be a blueprint of what we've heard from you, will represent what we're hearing from you, and we know it will. I was getting ready to say potentially, but it will impact communities that you engage with. We're very intentional with this request for applications, and we do understand and empathize with the needs and concerns of underserved communities. So we want to make sure that this request for applications truly captures what you are hearing, the experiences that you've encountered. We want to make sure that it's truly reflective of the needs of communities. Well, we really appreciate you all for taking time out to participate in today's session. We would like you to know that your time and your input is truly very valuable as we work to develop this request for applications. In a second, we're going to project where you can find additional information. And thank you, Colby. We realize that some participants may not have had the opportunity to speak. So we welcome additional input, and you may send that input to us via email at the email address indicated on the screen now. And you can use the subject, or we ask you to use the subject bill feedback. That way we know that the information you're sharing with us is information that we need to use or consider using for our request for applications. There are 2 more Gulf-wide listening sessions, and you see the dates for those sessions if you want to jot that down. For more information on our future sessions, you can email us, or you could visit our website as well. And also, in addition, if you would like to see the type of projects that we've funded in the past, GMD does have a story map on our website where you can click on that map and hover over the points, and you will get a brief pop-up on projects that we've funded. And you may find that those projects are in your neck of the woods. So we welcome you taking a look at that website, at the story map. And if that generates additional thoughts that you have, please send them to us. We want to thank you again for your time. We really appreciate your input. And if you would like to take part in our future sessions, please feel free to do so. Thank you. Have a good evening.